Hello, yellers! Welcome to the very first episode of Why Am I Yelling? Musings from a middle-aged menopausal mom. I'm so excited you're here. I'm Krista Rizzo, and I am a middle-aged mom trying to navigate life's chaos with humor, wisdom, and some occasional yelling. We're going to get into what yelling means for me in just a minute, but before we do that, I'm going to tell you 3 tidbits about who I am. I am married to my husband Will for the last 24 years. We've been together for 28. That definitely puts me in middle age. I'm a boy mom to my oldest. His name is Wyatt. He is a rising junior at the University of Connecticut. Go Huskies. And my little guy is a 13-year-old rising 8th grader at our local middle school here in the Northwest Hills of Connecticut where we live. I also am mom to our pandemic puppy who is now 4 years old, our Huskador Boomer, who is sometimes the light of everybody's life and sometimes the bane of everybody's existence, especially when he runs into the house at 2:30 in the morning being sprayed by a skunk. That story, I'm sure, will come in a future episode. So hang on to your hats with that one. So what is Why Am I Yelling? I started this idea several years ago, probably 15 years ago. It started as a submission to an Oprah Winfrey contest when she had retired and wanted to find the next great talk show host. It was called Your Own Show. And after being on a girls' trip with some of my girlfriends to Spain, my friend Michelle and Anne yell out to my friends Michelle and Anne, had asked a question while we were on vacation, and she said, if you guys could do anything you wanted to do, what would you do? What would you be? And I immediately said, I'd be talk show host. No brainer. Because I grew up on Phil Donahue and Sally Jessy Raphael and Oprah and all of the people that I was entertained by after school as a Gen Xer latchkey kid. And I just became very interested in talk shows when I was a kid. Never even thought as I was growing up that I could turn it into being a communications major and actually trying to have my own talk show one day. So I just decided to enter a contest, which actually I did pretty well at since we found out about it kind of late in the game. But when we were going through the whole why am I yelling, what are we going to name it? The first thing that popped into my head was, why am I yelling? And the reason behind that isn't because I'm always yelling for a bad reason. It's because I am literally an Italian American girl from New York, and I only have one volume, and that volume is loud. And ever since I was a little kid, anytime I got excited, even now, my volume goes higher. And I get loud about what it is I'm excited about. And I want to talk about it, and I want to, scream from the rooftops about the things that I'm doing or what I just learned or what I just saw or what I just experienced. And my mom would say to me, why are you yelling? I'm standing right here. I don't understand why you have to yell at me all the time. Do we need to get your hearing checked? We actually absolutely did that. But turns out I have fine hearing. I'm just a yeller by nature. And not for negative things. I find that we yell for more positive things in our life than we do for our negative stuff, right? We yell when we are celebrating milestones and having babies and having weddings and sharing birthdays and on the sidelines at our kids' sporting events or dance competitions or whatever it is that your kids are involved in. We're yelling because we are frustrated, for sure, about things that are happening in our lives or in the world or whatever's going on. But I really do find that, being a yeller is a good thing. And so who am I in real life? I am a certified professional coach. I have a life coaching, executive coaching, and grief treatment education coaching certifications. I have been coaching for the last 10 years on all of those topics. I have been associated with and a collaborator with and a contributor to places like the Huffington Post and Thrive Global and Refinery 29. I was a Today Show parenting contributor for several years when that was a thing in the world. And I did a TEDx talk. I have written a book or two. And I am super active in my community. I believe that, community service and being an advocate for people in your community is a calling that is part of my existence and my makeup. I think I get that from my grandmother. She was super active in our community growing up, volunteering for different causes and at different um, organizations. And so for me, that kind of just felt like a no-brainer. And so I spend a lot of time in my community volunteering and being a service to my community. I sit on our local school board, and just doing all kinds of really fun and meaningful things like that. This podcast is something that I've been thinking about doing for several months actually, and I keep putting it off, and I keep saying now's not the right time, and it's not perfect. And what I have learned in my life is that perfect doesn't exist. And so done is better than perfect. And putting a conversation out there and having meaningful and engaging conversations around, a place in my life or a place in our lives where we can come together to share stories and celebrate the things that we are celebrating, and gripe about the things that we need to gripe about, and, talk about the things that you want to talk about. It's not just about me. I am in this phase of life that is sometimes confusing, and, it can be difficult to navigate because it's not something that we're really educated about, and we have to get better at educating ourselves about it and being educated about it. And I have a lot of people that I am reaching out to hopefully guest on one of the episodes so we can talk about women and growing older and aging gracefully and doing it in a smart way. I didn't have role models who were very engaged about their health and taking care of themselves and what their expectations were and moving through life. They just kind of grinned and bared it. And we are living in a much different time and phase, right? We have access to information at the drop of a hat, at our fingertips, and we can get that information in less than 2 seconds. Right? The machines that we use and the technology that we use are so vital to our existence these days that we should use them to our advantage. Now, I know we can have the conversation about screen time and all that stuff with your kiddos and even for us adults, because I do know that statistically our time span for attention, our attention span, this is a menopause moment right here. Our time span for attention, ladies and gentlemen, it's decreased, right? Because we are so distracted by all the things that are going on around us, but we're also engaged in these devices that don't allow us to be engaged with one another. And so that has to be more of a conversation. And it has to be a conversation around the things that we need as women, as mothers, as caregivers, as sisters and friends and daughters and all the coworkers and all the titles that we hold in our lives, because there's a lot of them. And I think it's really important for us to have a space to be able to engage and interact and talk to one another about these things. And I want to bring education to people. I'm all about informing people. As a life coach, I am a lover of life, but I'm also a learner of life. And I feel like I am a student of life. So being able to have conversations with people who know more than me is always something that I'm open to. And being able to engage in topics that I might have a peripheral understanding of, or like this menopause thing that I'm going through, right? That we middle-aged ladies are going through these days. I admittedly don't know a whole lot about it. I just know that I'm having these symptoms. I want to take care of them. I want to understand why they're happening. I think it's important for us to know more rather than just grinning and bearing it and trying to just hold it into ourselves. I think it's important for us to get out there and have these conversations. And I think it's important for us to share those conversations. We shouldn't sit alone I am literally in the office in our house which is in the basement of my house because it is 900 million thousand degrees where we are right now. I have been living in my bathing suit. I have my bathing suit on under my little dress because I'm sweating profusely at all times in this weather. It's like 96 degrees outside, but the feels like forecast is like 115 in the sun. So I'm not actually outside today. I got sunburned yesterday from being at the lake, and look, I'm pushing on myself. You can see. So I'm gonna let myself rest. So I'm in my nice cool basement where I have been working today because I don't want to be upstairs in the heat. Now the air conditioner is on, but it's definitely not working as fast as it needs to be working for my metabolism. I think everybody else in my house is cold. It's just me and my husky lab who are really wanting to be where the coolness is. So that's what this is for, right? This is for us to have these moments, to be able to say, oh my gosh, I'm dying right now because it's 100 million degrees. And have somebody look at you and say, girl, I know. And let's talk about this. What are you doing to address it? How are you, being different than the things that you have learned from the people in your past? And that's no diss to the people in our past, right? We are only as good as the things that we have at our fingertips, the resources and the knowledge. And when my grandmother was growing up, there were no resources or knowledge. It was literally what your doctor told you, and you kind of had to just grin and bear it. When my mom was growing up, it was a little bit different. There was more knowledge and more technology. But by the time she was through her menopause, that's when that stuff became more readily available, the information. But I find it quite frightening that, research for women's health is so small. And there are so many of us that really could benefit from research. So having these conversations and getting into and digging into stuff that we can talk about together and kind of compare notes, right? We don't all go through the same thing at the same time. And some of us might not even go through some of those things, right? I haven't really had that many hot flashes. In fact, I don't have hot flashes other than nighttime sweating. And that is gross, right? But I have friends who do, and they talk about it. And they talk about we talk about our estrogen patches and the progesterone that we're taking and the vitamins that we've got, and the weighted vests have just come into the conversation. And so I want to talk about this in greater depth in future episodes, but that's why we're here, right? We're here because we need to talk about it. We need to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the sad, and all the things in between, because that's what makes us better. That's what makes us great. And that's what makes us want to be better for our families, for ourselves, for the people that we love and that we show up for every single day. So this podcast is going to consist of a bunch of different segments. It's going to consist of a bunch of different conversations, and it's going to talk about, the things that you guys want to talk about and the things that are important happening, in our lives and in our world today. So the segments are kind of broken down into things like, are you kidding me? How many times a day do you say that? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? What the actual ... You fill in the blank. That must be a saying that I say no less than 5 times a day, whether it is within my own house because I am, the queen of the sock police patrol. There are socks everywhere on the floor in my house because the 3 men that I live with don't know how to pick up their socks or even other articles of their clothes. Or it could be something that's going on in the world because are you fucking kidding me about that? Or it could be something that a friend told you and you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Right? Those moments are so frequent in our lives that I feel like we need to document them a little bit better. We need to talk about what your are you kidding me moments are. And then when we talk about the are you kidding me moments, we're going to go into here's the thing. So we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to talk about how we either resolve it or how we address it or how we kind of just let it go. Because sometimes, something my mother used to say to me, you have to pick your battles. And sometimes those battles are not worth arguing about or griping about or fighting about or however it is that you resolve things in your own home. So we're going to do an are you kidding me and a here's the thing. And then as soon as we start getting guests on this podcast, we're going to have guest conversations about their expertise, where they're coming from, their knowledge, and all the stuff that they can give to us, the information they can give to us that we can take out into the world and share with our people. Because sharing, my friends, is caring. From there, we're going to have some audience participation segments, and that's where you guys come in. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your hot flash moment is, right? That's your story or your personal anecdote about your midlife or your menopause or what you're going through at the moment, right? Or what is your are you kidding me moment? Let's talk about that too. We're going to do a yell of the week, right? We're going to talk about a frustration, a win, a celebration, or just a yell out. We're not doing shout outs here. We're doing yell outs. We're yelling out to people. We're yelling out to the causes that we believe in. We're yelling out to the feelings that we're having, and we're acknowledging them. So I'm going to want you guys to send in what you're yelling about. What's your yell? What is making you joyful this week? What is frustrating you this week? What is maybe something that's been on your mind that you want to talk about and you don't know how to talk about it? Send that into us, to our DMs and all of those fun things. And then, of course, there's one of my favorite segments, and that's called What's Dinner? Not to be confused with What's for Dinner. My children don't like to say a lot of words to me specifically, and for those of you who have teenagers, you'll understand that. And for those of you who don't, you'll know when you get there. I have growing boys in my house, and so there's never any food, even when there is. And when there is food, there's a lot of it consumed in multiple stages throughout a day. So the big question at any point in the day is, Mom, what's dinner? And that has become a topic of conversation. Food is actually one of my love languages. It's probably one of my biggest love languages. I like to feed people. That's the Italian in me. My Italian grandmother used to, host Sundays. We would go to her house for Sunday dinner, and it would always be a giant feast and it would only be the six of us, or if we were bringing guests, maybe 8 or 10 of us. It wasn't always a holiday. When my mom was growing up, she grew up in a house with a 3-family house with all of her relatives in it, and so there was always stuff going on. But in my house, when we were growing up, we always had Sunday dinner with my grandparents or some extended family and friends. And so food, the kitchen is where we always, ended up. We always hung out around the counter when my parents were cooking or when I'm cooking. And I think it's really such a special thing to make something for somebody else that they're going to enjoy. And so for me, that's food. I can bake, I can cook, I enjoy it. I am really good at quick meals. I'm really good at wanting to be in the kitchen and spending time there and discovering things and kind of, putting things together and being creative and original with stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's what I love about it, right? Food is definitely something that kind of brings us all together and makes us want to congregate and have conversations and be in each other's lives and want to have more or have traditions built, right? I do a big Christmas Eve, and the menu is pretty much the same every year, but everybody comes not just because of the food, but because the gathering is so fun. And so when you can accentuate your gathering with things like food and friends and great stories and fun music, you've got the makings of a party without even realizing that you're doing that. So for me, dinner is an important piece of our day. And it's an important piece of our day because we are one of those families who, as often as we can, we sit down to dinner as a family. And that is something that my mother, it was a non-negotiable for us growing up, unless we had, a sporting event or something that we were going to. And I know that our lives are hectic and they're busy and there's always so much going on. But sitting down at the end of your day with your family is, for me, one of the best parts of my day. It's when we get to reconnect. It's when I get to hear about school and what's going on, especially now that my college kid is home for the summer. Hearing what he's doing at his internship during the day and what his friends are up to, and my little guy who, is a camp helper at his camp this summer because he's aged out of going to summer camp where we live. Just listening to them talk and engage with each other and engage with us is a really just a heartwarming part of my day. And no matter how hard my day has been and whatever stuff that we're dealing with on the back end of our lives, it's the time that we can all just like come together and be with each other and have these moments to kind of connect and chat and talk and be with each other. And we do it over dinner. So what's dinner is going to be one of our segments, and I think it's going to be a really fun one. So send us your dinners. What do you guys make for dinner when you're sitting around your dinner table or talking about it, or your meal planning? I love a meal planner. So if somebody can send me meal planning ideas, that's super helpful. I try to meal plan every week, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, just based on our schedules. But I love that idea, and I want to learn. And if you are, I'm Italian, so I cook a lot of Italian food, but I also am really great at grilling, and I like to make Indian food, and I like to try stir fry. And Mexican is one of my favorites. So there's not really a food that I don't like. And I'm willing to try anything. So if you have great recipes that I might not know about, please share them. This is a place for collaboration and sharing. So please share them, because I think it could be super fun where we're sharing recipes or things that you like to bake. I make my kids' birthday cakes every year, and I am not a baker by any means, but it's super fun for me to, get it together and try to figure out how to make things work and make a cake out of it. And I'll share some of the pictures of my kids' cakes from when they were little in maybe a post or something. I had to figure out how to pop things up on this podcast, the video part of it anyway. So what's dinner? Tonight dinner for us, because it's so flipping hot where we are, is grilled chicken Caesar salad, either in a wrap or in a bowl. That's what you're getting. And I just threw a gazillion ice pops in the freezer, and that's what's for dessert. So that's dinner tonight, because I don't really want to cook. And so throwing a couple of chicken breasts on the grill for, 15 or 20 minutes to get those cooked up and making a cold, crisp Caesar salad is a big plus in my house. So that's what's dinner tonight. Send me what's dinner for you guys. And so that brings us to the end of our very first episode. My other plan is to keep these episodes kind of short and sweet. So I want to keep them within 30 to 40 minutes, especially like when we have guests, will be a little bit longer. But I want to keep them under 30 minutes or at the 30-minute mark. I think it's important, especially when we go back to that, attention span thing. People don't want to sit here for 2 hours and listen to people rant. They want their stuff, they want in, they want out, and they want to learn about things. So quick, right? So your call to action today is, what are we yelling about? We are yelling about this podcast, and we are yelling about menopause and midlife and being moms and trying to keep it all together. And we are yelling about sharing. And so today, I'm going to ask you to share this podcast. You can follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at whyamiyelling_, because somebody actually took Why Am I Yelling many years ago when I tried to get Why Am I Yelling, and I never reached out to them to ask if they would give it to me. So Why Am I Yelling _ on YouTube, on Instagram, I think on TikTok, but I'm not really on there that much, and I don't tweet. So there's that. So follow us and share us and get the word out, because this can be a really fun thing, and it's gonna be a really fun thing. I'm super excited about it. I hope you are too. I'd love for you to come yell with me. So send me your ideas, send me your thoughts, send me your topics about things that you want to know about and learn about. And we are going to go through this together. Stay cool, everyone, and we will see you on the flip side. Bye, y'all.